Good morning. Thank you all for showing up today. We'll be starting in just a second. If anyone is confused as to where they are, this is the eVetSites orientation. And today we're going to talk about SEO. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. If not, let me know. Right now I've got up a graphic kind of sharing all our social media. If you can hear me, let me know. We don't have too many folks on here, so I'm going to unmute you if that's okay. And if you want to just chat, you can also send chats into the message here. Actually, somebody was in the process of moving some heavy lumber or something, so I went ahead and put you guys on mute. More folks showed up than I thought. Can everyone hear me okay? If so, you should respond, please, to the chat window. Awesome. Okay, well, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's orientation or conversation. My name is Jose Galvin. I do technical support here and help out when I can. I don't have any sort of veterinary background, but I do love cats. And I've been blessed to be part of been here for about 8-something years, maybe closer to 10. If anyone has any questions at any point throughout today's chat, please let me know. Just go ahead and just interrupt me, put something in there. Sometimes I get a little excited and we'll start rambling on. If you guys just want me to go over something, let me know. We're not going to delve into anything too technical today, I promise you. This is we're here for you. We're here to make these kind of complicated concepts easy to understand. And so that said, let's just jump right on in. I'm going to go ahead and use my veterinarian, Dr. Katie True's site, Midtown Animal Hospital, as our guinea pig today. And we're going to talk about search engine optimization. If you got the email from us, you know that there's two chats regarding SEO. SEO, again, is short for search engine optimization, and it's the process of having your site show up higher in organic results. So, and by organic results, we mean not the ads. So I'll do that even if I can't spell it. So right here, this is an ad. It clearly says it's an ad right here. But then these results here, the organic results, are what we're trying to rank higher for. There's two main disciplines or two main areas for SEO. The first is that we're going to cover today is everything that's on the site, called on-site SEO. So we're going to talk about the content, your images, formatting, the structure of the site. All of these things are part of the ranking signals that will help you show up for to perform better and for Google to find you. The other part of that is the off-site SEO. That has to do with the connections to your site from other places. So, for example, we're going to go ahead and do them here. 811. Okay. And this will be next week's chat. We're going to talk about directory listings. In other words, how many places have a listing with the information? Are the listings consistent? So for example, here we've got Midtown Animal Hospital, but it has a doctor's name right next to it. And in this listing, there is no, the website is missing, which is totally missing the point. Somebody could, of course, call that number, but if you're missing the website, then you're missing out on SEO. So those are the two really broad, very general areas of SEO that are there. And so the stuff that we're going to do today is all about the content. Does everyone know how to log into their site already? I should have, basically you're going to click this key down in the bottom left-hand corner. Okay, great. I like to see the yeses. You click the key, you put in your username and password, and then you get to this screen. You know, honestly, the main thing is people ask me all the time, well, what can I do? You know, what's the button? What can I do to make the site rank? Well, a big part of it, there's hundreds of what are called ranking signals. These are the rules that Google has used for making a site show up. The biggest one is still original content. You can have your site look glitzy and glammy, and we can do an overhaul of the site. As you know, that is something that we offer. There's no charge for that. We do makeovers. This site right here is in the process of a makeover right now. But if the content isn't original and it isn't good content or useful content, it's not gonna show up in the search. So again, this doctor, they do pretty well. They're in a nice part of town, downtown. There's a lot of new buildings coming in, and so on a lark. Back when they were first building our new basketball stadium, or the basketball stadium across the river. I actually live in the city right across. They called it the Doco, which I always think is kind of funny. If you've seen South Park, you've seen that episode where they're talking about those funny parts of town that have all those soda, moda, whatever names. But on the lark, I decided to put that in there. Now, what happens now if I do Doco and veterinarian? Because I've had that in there for several weeks, look at that. They are the very first search for that. And in fact, there's not any other ones. And Midtown Sacramento, I mean, downtown Sacramento is not gigantic, but there's a pretty big spot there. And here's Midtown Animal Hospital. So if you've got the name of a community that you would like to target, maybe there's a gated community, maybe there's a new housing development, put that name in there. You know, we always have those people in your local forums that say, well, that's not the real name of that town. Who cares? They're gonna pay their bills. They're gonna have animals that need care. Go ahead and reach out to them. So you know, for the content here, we put the staff of Midtown Animals have clients include our neighbors in Midtown and the Doco, as well as clients from North Park, West Sacramento, Land Park, and more. You don't have to put 10 communities on there. Remember that your practice, unless you've got a multi-practice endeavor, you're gonna basically cover a metropolitan area. So go ahead and put in, you know, we serve the communities of X, Y, and Z. A lot of times I'll have conversations with doctors and practice managers, and I'll say, why aren't we showing up for, you know, North Highlands? We're right downtown. We should be able to. Well, if you don't have North Highlands specifically on the page, it's not going to come up for that. So the first thing I would do is, you know, talk about where you do, you know, what you're doing, and how. So in this case, they're talking about how they've been in this place for a while, 50 years. It's just a kind of an introduction. And they also talk about the services: dogs, cats, reptiles, birds, and pocket pets. If you're a veterinarian that's in, you know, we have some rural areas of both Sacramento and Yolo County, and there's a lot of folks that have horses. So in their case, it would behoove them, no pun intended, to put in that they do equine service. But basically, you want to talk about the areas that you service for SEO. The home page is a fantastic page to do this. There's other pages as well. Contact us page right here, you can see. And you can switch it up for driving directions to our practice from blah, blah, and blah. And click the map below. And we've got the map here. the big thing about your areas, your community. Um, Hopefully everyone on this call will reach out to me, and I'm going to try and reach out to everyone as well to set up a one-on-one so we can talk about that. We can talk about the parts of your community that you'd like to reach out to. Sometimes there's physical barriers, right? So for example, if we go here and look at the map, it's not that big of a deal if there's this body of water, right? I mean, we do have bridges, but sometimes people want to be closer to um, someone on this side, and so we have to be mindful of that. Maybe there's traffic, maybe the bridge is under construction, or it's just really difficult to get from one section to another. What we want to do is be mindful of the communities that are nearby, talk about that content, and add it into several several places on your site. And we can talk about brainstorming content as well, so we can do that. But once you have that little list, you'll find that we'll kind of reinforce it throughout the site. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about are your image tags. And this is a really simple one, not too much work. If you notice, if I mouse over here, it lists a whole bunch more communities. Midtown Animal Hospital, Vet Serving West Sac, Midtown, Downtown, North Oak Park, Carmichael. I think she whittled it down a little bit because she was actually doing really well, and that's fine. Now to tag an image, we're going to go to Edit Content. And if you scroll down to the image, you should be able to double click. Oh, a reminder, if you're using Internet Explorer, it may not work as well. Chrome is really the best browser for use on the eVetSites editor. So when you bring it up, you'll see this image description field. This is where you can put in this information. I've done a little document for you, and to prepare for this conversation, I'll put it here in the chat. You want to bookmark it. Basically, we're going to repeat the name of our practice, your location, and what this image is about. Pretty simple stuff. In this case, since it's the home page, we're kind of reinforcing the information that's over here about the communities that the practice serves. If it were, for example, a person, let's go ahead and look here. So here's Dr. True. And so if we mouse over, you see it's got information again, name of the hospital, location, our veterinarian, Dr. Katie True. So you're basically repeating the amount of times, you're doubling the amount of times that search term comes up. It makes it easier for people to find your information. And if you do a search, if you have, if you offer a service like boarding or grooming, people search for that sort of stuff. So for example, I don't even know, I could be gambling, we could be getting somebody else is not on eVetSites, but here's the point. If I do boarding pet Davis, California, it's nice to see what we're getting into, right? So if we click here and we see, hey, look, here's a lady walking these guys. Looks like it's on the green belt. Hers is like a cage, which is not that fun. Here's some more smiling faces. You know, people are drawn to these images and they'll click on them. You know, you're going to click on this and say, oh, look at this. She does pet sitting in Davis, California. So, you know, this has the tags on it. Again, you're drawn in from the image. You click on it, and then you go, yeah, this lady is not on eVetSites. But it's okay. Again, she's proving the point that if we tag the images, it's gonna yield some results. Everybody's search is different in different ways. Much like if you ever get in a car with someone else, they drive differently, or you have somebody else sitting in front of a computer and you're searching for something, they'll search differently as well. So the image tags are important. Every image on your site should have an image tag. If you don't, it's free. I mean, this is a way of getting more content to Google so they can see it. All right, and you know, let me just pause for a second because I didn't talk about how um, how Google indexes content. Is everyone here familiar or have a general idea of how Google gets your information on your website? Um, in a nutshell, a site is constructed, it's put together, it's updated, people upload media, pictures, videos, whatever, and then Google will find it eventually. Now you can speed the process up by using a thing called Google Webmaster Tools. I won't go too far into this right now, but basically you can literally tell them, hey, here's the pages on the site. So in this case, I was working on West Loop Vets earlier, and I was telling them, hey, here's some new pages, right? So if there's a site map, we can give them the site map. If there's other pages that we want to give them, here's this one about their videos. They'll go ahead and retrieve it. And so on this page, we've got some videos. They're all YouTube videos and whatnot. But I'm asking them, hey, come take a look at it. Maybe we worked on the services page. I can ask Google to go and pull it through, and this will speed up the process. Now, if we don't do that, Google will find your page eventually. And what they'll do is they'll use a program, you'll hear them referred to as bots or spiders. Basically what they do is they do an inventory of the page. They'll go through and they'll look at all the words, um, code, the images, and if you've ever worked retail, you've probably done an inventory where you got to count up everything, um, how many pairs of these shoes, how many shirts, how many XLs, how many mediums, whatever. And oh, we've got a question. Um, and so what Google then does is it creates this big um, kind of a word bucket of all the content that's on your site. And then when somebody searches, it goes to those buckets and it'll go ahead and then see how many of these match. The big term for Google is relevance. So again, since I did Doko, and this is the unique one right now, you know, this is relevant to it. Doko and veterinarian. Again, she's number one. Notice how Google bolds it right here. So these are the words that are related and that are relevant to that search. We had a great question. Someone asked, are the Google Webmaster tools accessible from our regular Google account? They can be. If you do need a Google account in order to access Google Webmaster tools. We are on a mission right now to put Google Analytics and Google Webmaster tools on every single domain. And if we haven't done yours, we will. Um, how we do that is, so we'll have an owner. We'll go ahead and put the code on there, and then we can add users. So if we wanted to add me, I mean, I'll go ahead and remove myself in a second. But so let's say I just wanted to go ahead and add me as restricted because who knows what kind of trouble I can get into. We'll go ahead and do restricted, Jose Galvin. We'll hit add, and now I'll have access to go ahead and get into that. And so you can share access. You can have multiple people be on there. You've got a practice manager or an owner, and somebody wants full. We'll usually give people full access because it's their deal, right? And honestly, you can't really mess anything up by being in here. All you're doing is communicating with Google and letting them know, hey, here's a new page. Here's another update that we've done to it. So yes, we can for sure add access to your regular Google account. I hope that answers that question. Okay, so we've talked about how Google indexes your content. We've touched on the images, some good content that we're going to have on there. I'm going to go a little deeper under the hood, and we're going to talk about something called slugs, and site titles, and the meta description. Now I'm going to go back. Let me clear a couple of windows here. Okay. If you have two monitors, this is a nice time to put them to use. And if you have a decent sized monitor, um, this is also a good time for those to shine. Okay, so here's our search for Doco Veterinarian. And as we can see, we've got midtownanimalhospital.com. First search, it comes right up. Very excited about that. Eventually, some other vets are going to pick up on that and start taking away those clients. But in the meantime, they've got this. Now, if you've ever wondered where Google gets this information, I'm going to show you right here. So this first line, this blue line, here it's purple because we've clicked on it, is this one right here, the title. Notice that it cuts off after a certain amount. Veterinary services right around here. This used to be about 60. It's now about 50 characters, and Google is always updating these things because of changes in technology. 10 years ago, the iPhone wasn't nearly, a big deal. Actually, it didn't. iPhone wasn't around 10 years, was it? The smartphones weren't that prevalent. Websites weren't really a big thing on mobile, but now they're a must-have. Every site has to have it in there, and so the site title is important. It gives people a general idea of what the page is about. On the About Us, it says About Us. You got the name of the hospital and your location. So in general, if you have those three elements, you're good to go. That's the easiest way. A more creative way would be to make a sentence about Midtown Animal Hospital in Sacramento, California would be just as good. You see here, hey doc, have veterinary clients been fooled by this stuff? So this is tantalizing, right? It kind of draws you in. You're wondering, well, what is this is about? Well, this is the title, and each title should be unique because each page is unique. Here's the services page. Here's the contact us page. Information. They're all different. So make sure that the title reflects what that page is about. Again, because I knew we were going to have this conversation, I wrote a doc. And so here is top two on this. Yeah, here's the graphic. There's your title. There's your slug. There's your meta description. So you actually have full control over how this stuff shows up. Midtown Animal Hospital, veterinarian serving clients from Midtown, Doco, Norfolk Park. Now, look at this. Why is it different? So I left this in here for a reason. And we want to talk about that word relevance again. Google is really big on giving people accurate information. And I know everyone here is super young, but a long time ago, search engines weren't as effective as they were now. It was kind of a crapshoot if you were doing a search for something. You're working on a term paper, you're working on a project. The stuff just wasn't accurate. Now what Google does is it makes sure that if your description says Midtown Animal Hospital, there darn well better be Midtown Animal content on the site, right? If you were to type in something here, if we were to put these terms in here, my 13-year-old would be over the moon. But she would then be bitterly disappointed when she gets to the page and it's just the veterinarian, right? This would be also not telling the truth because none of these search terms are actually on the site. So what you want to do is you want to have whatever you put in here actually be on the website. And so what I think happens, or what I know happens here, is Google will look at the content on the website. It's going to look at the description and it's going to see if they match, if they're relevant. If the higher the percentage of matching, the more chance that they're going to use what you've put on there. If they see that there's a lesser percentage, they will put in content themselves, and they'll basically just trim a little bit right from the page itself. Notice that here, it's like the first line or somewhere in here. And so, so what I'd recommend you do is be truthful. It's not that Google is doing any sort of moral judgment on us. It's purely math. They're looking at the words, they're looking at their characters, and they're making sure that they're matching. So if you've got the same description on each page, consider shortening it up. Again, if you can have two windows side by side like this might be easier. And that way you can do something like, you know, something like this. This would be something that I would put in, because this is more accurate than this one right here, Midtown, downtown, and more, so that it matches whatever the content is there. I haven't talked too much about the slug. The slug is this deal right here. It's important just because you know if you create a new page, let's go ahead and do it. Yeah, it says new page 37. I mean, you don't want it to do that, because then that doesn't really tell anybody anything about you know what the page actually does. Pet grooming, on the other hand, is very helpful. That tells people a lot about what you're offering on the page. And if you pull it up on your mobile phone, it's going to look like this. So the slug is actually part of what appears on the search, depending on which browser you're using. I know that Chrome and Safari and Internet Explorer on Androids, there's a little bit of variance between all of those. But the slug's important, so make sure that that matches. Again, I've got this this document in the chat, so you have questions, you know, go on in and let us know. It's a pretty simple process, though. We're basically just telling the truth. We're saying what the page is about in 2 locations, and then when we're done, we hit save, and then it's updated. Now, here's something else. Earlier, I talked about updating the. So let's do that. Oh, this isn't the live site. This is actually the makeover. Yeah. So see, this is the one right here, and so on here we've got a different set of information than on here. After you do the submission, let me know basically if you've done an update so that we could submit it in Google Webmaster Tools. And here is why. Google isn't going to update it immediately. We'll talk about this trick in just a second. See this little arrow? You click this, it'll tell you the last time that Google came by. So they did a visit on March 31st. It's been a bit, it's been a couple of weeks. So if there were any changes to the page in between now and then, they wouldn't know. And so this is why Google Webmaster Tools is cool, because it lets us communicate with them right off the bat. Hey, this is new content. Come take a peek at it. We need that. This is also a great tool, site:/domain, and I'll put this in here as well. If you're doing a search for anything, maybe you came across a site and you're like, there's this cool article, but I can't remember the URL. You know, I totally forgot. You can look for it here. So anything that's going to be on this page, and then you know, you can find the articles. How to see the cache again? Yes, of course. On any page, on a search result, and you can do this for your own domain. Site: your domain name, and then right under here you'll see this little arrow, this triangle. You click on it, and then you click cache. and then it'll tell you the last time that they came by. Does that help out? It's really useful if you're looking for sales. I mean, it's going to pull up everything from the site. So if you're looking, if you're searching for a for something on a website that's just gigantic, you can't remember where it was, you can find it like that. And Google's going to go through, especially like the big web pages like that. Show that. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and update the page, and then we're going to tell Google. All right, we're about halfway through. Appreciate all the questions. It's fun when you guys ask stuff. That way, I know I'm not just kind of chatting out into thin air. Does anyone have any questions about what we've talked about so far? Content, formatting images, anything like that? I am going to be putting this chat up on YouTube. We try to go ahead and update every week. Sometimes we don't, but most of the time we do. And so, as you can see, the ones that say SEO will have me chatting along. And sometimes they're all a little bit different because we have different folks come to different ones, and sometimes we speed through things, and sometimes we go through other content. So, I invite you to subscribe to us. We'd love to go ahead and put up this content to help you folks out. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of the website. Earlier, I mentioned the importance of mobile phones because when you're looking at a site on a mobile phone, it looks different. It's a completely different presentation than it is on your screen. So we're used to seeing this. Someone asks a question, can you contact you when you make changes to our site? You can just shoot me an email. You don't have to do a phone call. I know everyone's busy. Just shoot me an email so I can let Google know via Webmaster tools. Really, anytime you do that, because we want them to be done in the least, the least amount of time. What Google does, and you may have heard this from SEO folks or maybe at a marketing seminar or anything like that. You may have heard people say, oh, you've got to update your website all the time. That's not true. The reason people say that is because Google will update how often they come by to see your page, the more often that you update it. But you don't have to do that if the information is going to be the same. So here's our site. Google hasn't been by since March 31st. That's fine. But none of this has changed. It's not like we're going to say, well, we're high-end website design or super expensive website design. This is the same stuff where maybe we're putting more sites in here for portfolio. But my point is that if we do an update, we'll just let them know via Webmaster tools. That has eliminated the need to update the pages all the time. And the reason that people did that was simply because they wanted to make sure that Google had the latest version of the site. But I'll make it easy for you. So just if you update your page, if you're working on your website, just shoot us an email, support@eVetSites.com. Like I said, most of the sites have Webmaster tools. If not, we will put them on. And I'll be glad to just submit it to Google so that Google knows. I hope that answers that question. Both for adding a new page or editing an old one. They both matter because what happens is you want Google to know the newest version of the site, right? Especially if you've got like an employee page, maybe Samantha's no longer there. And so you want to go ahead and remove her. You've updated that page. Okay, so I was starting to talk about the structure of the page. So we're looking at the site here. It looks nice. We've got all this stuff here. But if you put it into another device, like a smartphone, you'll get this. These three lines up here are affectionately known as the hamburger, which is the kind of default navigation for websites. And whoever can figure out a mobile navigation that isn't the hamburger is going to be a very rich man or woman. Most sites have it. If you go to, again, Nike or something, you smush the page down, you're gonna get the hamburger. This is what they do. This is where we are, in website technology. And so knowing that that is a pain, because you got to click, and then click, and then click again to get to these different pages. What can we do to make the experience, the user experience, better for visitors? How can we make it easier for people to get around? Well, what we can do is we can use links. So for example, here we've got this thing. This is a link. We've got a phone number. You can make that a link so that people can dial right from their cell. And if you've got, and if you want to go ahead and send people directly to content, you can do so by linking to the different pages. So when you're putting your pages together, think of them as silos. So in other words, you've got the home. There's not too much else on the home, but it is linking to the other pages. So we should link to about us, our services, contact us, and information. Likewise, the about us should link to the pages underneath. I'll start with this one. So here is the about us. We've got our doctors, our team, hospital tour, and what I do, because I am an energy conservationist or lazy, is I just copy stuff like this. And there they are. For more information, we'll just say in our practice. Now you could also write a sentence and then add links there. Does everyone here know how to do links? And if not, I'll do a quick tutorial. So for example here, for more information on our doctors, highlight our doctors, like this, do the drop down, select our doctors. We want to give people choices. I reference IKEA a lot in our conversations because we have one in our town. And for the first year, it was a big deal for everybody involved. Everyone was like, wow, IKEA. Because before you had to travel to the Bay Area to get one. And they have these little arrows. So if you're walking along, it'll show you how to get from one spot to the other, but there's also shortcuts. You want to give people choices. It's always nice to give people choices. You want to make things as easy as possible for people to get around. And by adding links like this, you're going to really make it easy for both humans and machines, humans being your visitors and machines being the search engines, to get to the different parts of your website. So if any of you have a mobile phone, you pull up the site. Again, this is really simple. It's not that big of a deal. Here's some content on the page. But now it's one click versus having to go up here, having to click this, having to click that. One click versus 3 clicks. I think we can all agree that that's easier for everyone. And then again, you're going to make it easy for the search engine, because what the search engine does is it's expensive and as fancy as these machines are. They're pretty simple-minded, and they have a very simple mission. They're going to find text, they find a hypertext, and they follow it. They continue that process, and they just keep going until they've mapped out, as much of the site as possible. If you don't have these links, so here I've got all these connected. So if somebody hits about us, they're going to hit all of these. So you want to do the same thing for these other pages as well. We do have a page type called a menu item only. Um, I really recommend using this sparingly because this top level page, the page that's at the top of the menu, really should be one that gives people information. It's again, it's something that really helps out. I'm going to do it here for the information page. And again, even if it's just a simple page like this, where there's just some text, this is going to help people out because you're going to give people a way to get to something. You're going to have some, you're going to have a way to get to the different, different parts of the website. And we'll just put in a picture just so it's not so boring. So here we go. So now the information page and the About Us page, the top level pages have links to the content down below. And it's kind of a, if you don't, if the concept of why we're doing it or how to do it is still a little baffling, let me know. I'll be glad to help you. I mean, it's fun for me. I like to see the pages, constructed well, because that everybody's a winner. Your site gets crawled, your site does better, you're happy, you stay with us hopefully, and then we continue on. But you want to have all the pages have there be a reason or a structure to the way that the pages are put together. And the reason is because at the end of the day, we want to have a call to action, and that is what what is the page, what's the goal? In most cases, the site is there to be a central place so that you have complete control over it, more than on most social media sites or anything. Facebook's always changing the way they display information. Instagram, Yelp, all these other different entities, they're great to have, and we'll talk more about those again next week. But you don't have full control over it. Here on your website, you do. In this case, the doctor, see this blue that we're using here, the doctor said, well, I want to have more of this kind of blue, whatever that blue is called. That's fine. We can do that. That's what we're here to do. But let's have the site be connected, have all the pages be accessible, and let's think about where we're leading folks. I used the IKEA analogy earlier. At the end of the day, they want you to go and buy some stuff, right? So all those roads lead to the cashier. And in this case, we're going to lead to the contact us because they want to set up an appointment.
Oh, okay. What's going on?
Or to set up, directions to how to get there. So think about that. What is your website's call to action? In our case, we want to let people know that what we do and where. We're part of VIN, trying to help folks out with their websites. Sign up now.
Okay.
Maybe you guys have heard of this small business.
Okay, great.
They're here to separate us from our money. And so here's, right off the bat, here's the stuff. And if you look to the right, here's all the different things. Here's your shopping cart. Yeah. All these different entities have something in common. Here's the American Red Cross. And what are they trying to do? Hey, look, they want people. There's a tie-in with that show that people like to watch. And so they're trying to get donations because people donate blood and all this sort of. So as you can see, the call to action kind of dictates the flow of traffic onto your site, the content. It'll help you to have that call to action because you're basically trying to it'll help determine where and what content to put. So in this case, they decided to put their contact us here. Sometimes it's over here on the right. That's fine. They've got a wealth of information, but we want to make it so that people can get to these pages with the least amount of work. I've heard this also called as a silo, like grain silos. We have information silos. That's fine. However, whatever makes it easier for you to understand, use whatever term you want. There's no wrong. I'm not a tech snob. Okay, so now we've covered quite a bit. We've covered content, your locations, image tags, site titles, slugs, how Google does it, the internal links. And so this is going to be a nice segue to next week's chat. So these internal links that that we've got on here within the pages, one to another, are important. And so next week we're going to talk about the external links. So in other words, you may have seen me put this website up. Moz is a third party. They do SEO stuff for people like me, people that work in this sort of.
I know that they help you set up all of your emails. Can I have him give you a call right back? He's in the middle of an orientation. Okay.
And what this site does is they do just a quick checkup of all the incoming links to your site. So just as the links within are important, the links from the outside are important as well, right? So to follow with the IKEA analogy, they have the arrows within, but they also have the streets that are leading to it. And maybe they've got that big old sign that you can see right from the freeway. So it'll pull you in. So these different links here,
all right, thank you so much.
Facebook,
give you a call back.
Insider Pages, City Search, Super Pages, Yellow Pages, Best of the Web, Hot Frog. All these listings are what we're going to focus on next week because those links are important, and especially if you have a new practice, it's vitally important that we have that conversation because we need to let Google know that you exist. And by Google, I also mean Bing. Bing is the second largest search engine out there. It's the default search engine for folks that are using Internet Explorer, and Internet Explorer is the default browser for folks that purchase Windows devices, whether it's a computer or a netbook or tablet or phone. So there's a lot of folks that use it. There's people like my aunt-in-laws. They'll say, "Oh, I'm going to go Google that," and then I see them, and they go to Bing, and they go to Bing because again, she's not a techie. She's a teacher, but this is just what's on their browser by default, and there's nothing wrong with that because there are tons of people that use this, and they have, and again, they're folks that are going to have animals that need care, and we welcome their business, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that next week. We'll talk about marketing in a nutshell, and hopefully, like today, we're just going to break it down into non-technical terms. We really want to show you that there's not a lot, nothing that we did today, was used code. We didn't use any HTML or CSS or JSS or anything. So hopefully what we covered made sense today. And if you have more questions, we've still got some time now. We've got about 10 minutes till we have to relinquish the meeting area. Is everybody pretty okay with what we've covered so far? Now I'm going to try and reach out to everyone afterwards. Thank you. Appreciate that. Homework. Yes, it's fun homework though, and there's no time schedule, so it's not like it has to be done by next week or anything like that. What I'd love to do is to set up a one-on-one so that we can talk about your individual practice. I found that most doctors and most practice managers are really very humble when they talk about, well, we're just a practice, but every site is unique. Every business is unique because you're in different parts of the world. And it's fun for me to talk to people from all over the U.S. and Canada, and even some lucky bums that live like in the Caribbean islands. And we have clients from all over, and to learn about their neighborhoods and which areas they're servicing, things like that. So again, I invite you to join me next week. So we're going to kind of tie into this conversation. I'll be reaching out to most of you via email. And if anyone has any questions, let me know. We'll be glad to help. Also want to invite everyone to subscribe to us on our different social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/eVetSites, Twitter, which is really just a feed from that, Instagram, and YouTube, where you will see in a little bit, hopefully if I can get this working, the copy of this video that we're at now. So if you're taking notes and I sped up a little bit, you should be able to go ahead and see that information. Okay, that's all I have for today. If anyone has any questions, let me know. And again, thank you all for showing up. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us. And we'll talk to you soon.